American Pharoah is in a two-length lead as they come up to the top of the stretch, and Frosted has moved up into the second. And American Pharoah makes his run for glory as they come into the final draw. Frosted in second with an eighth of a mile to go. And here it is! American Pharoah has won the Triple Crown! Now, for those of you not familiar with horse racing, that was some of the 2015 Triple Crown commentary. Horse racing dates as far back as the chariot races in the Olympic Games, where speed and stamina was, and still is, the goal. It did not become popular in the United States until the early 1800s. Horse racing is a part of history in which it was a triumph against the odds, proven to be a true American success story. I would like to discuss with you today the triumphs throughout history of thoroughbred horse racing, along with the remarkable power of the Saratoga Racecourse and Seabiscuit. The history of thoroughbred horse racing and betting was pushed from England to the United States. Colonel Richard Nichols first started organizing racing in Long Island. It was a 2-mile course, and the best horses received a silver cup. Now, when the Civil War hit in 1861, the races suffered greatly. For the 4 years of the war, thoroughbreds were pushed into military service. Now, even though those times were tough and many of the horses were used in the war, in August of 1863, a track opened in Saratoga Springs, New York, which just so happens to be my hometown. It began when two wealthy men, John Hunter and William Travers, decided to create a racetrack that would be worthy enough for their own thoroughbreds. They had a dream, and thus the Saratoga racetrack was born. Now, the Civil War had little effect on the track, as it prospered due to the wealthy Americans and the internationals that had homes there. It was a great source for gambling and tourism. In 1864, the Saratoga Racing Administration named a stakes race after Mr. Travers. This race, the Travers, is the oldest major thoroughbred race in America. It is the race in which the greatest horses they come together to compete for $1 million purse, which is a lot for horse racing. Now, Saratoga, where I go every summer to see the horses race, it was the center of American racing and is the oldest racetrack in the United States. And if you were wondering, it is still very, very popular today. According to the racetrack's website, the population of Saratoga triples each summer when the thoroughbreds are in town. And according to the New York Racing Association, the daily average attendance is approximately 29,000 people. So while Saratoga was able to overcome these tough times in 1867, 2 years after the war ended, times got better for the rest of the United States. The thoroughbreds started racing again. So the first Belmont Stakes was run, followed by the Preakness Stakes, and then the Kentucky Derby. Side note, it wasn't until 1930 that a sports writer coined the term Triple Crown, when a horse named Gallant Fox won all 3 races, hence the name. There have only been 12 Triple Crown winners in all the years, which is why it was very exciting to see American Pharoah win this year. So not much longer after the first of these races were run, gambling soon became corrupt in the United States, and they banned it. Now, by 1909, the racetracks went from approximately 300 down to 25. 10 years later, after World War I, horse races took off, and betting on the horses slowly became legal again. Tracks were freed from the problems of wartime controls and the limited transportation. More racetracks started opening. Another 10 years after that, the stock market crashed, causing the Great Depression. Now, when the economy collapsed, the government struggles to find revenue, and horse racing became one of those great sources to earn money. Over the next few years, betting on horses became legal in not just a few states, but 21 states. According to an article entitled Racing in the Depression, the United States saw a 70% increase in the number of tracks. Thousands visited the tracks, as there was not only the possibility to win money, which they desperately needed, but it was also exciting. It took their minds off the struggle. So then, in 1934, Seabiscuit, who was an awkward-looking horse, he was born, and thus his racing career began. Now, Seabiscuit lost 17 races in a row. In August of 1936, Tom Smith, a loser himself, decided to buy Seabiscuit and start racing him. Tom and Seabiscuit's lives were completely changed when they won their first race in September of that year. Seabiscuit was known as the underdog, with unexpected fame. He won a few races, drawing more and more crowds each time. He broke a record by winning the San Juan Capistrano Handicap by 7 lengths. In 1937, earned the top spot in winnings. Laura Hillenbrand, an author of the best-selling book called Seabiscuit, put it best. She said, "For a brief moment in America, a little brown racehorse wasn't just a little brown racehorse. Seabiscuit showed triumph over hardship. The American people saw this as a metaphor for themselves during the time of this depression." Now, horse racing is certainly a part of history, having its ups and downs. Through the determination of John Hunter and William Travers, they overcame the struggles of the war, creating the Saratoga Racecourse. And through the triumph of Seabiscuit, he helped become a light to others in the dark time of the Depression. Horse racing was, and is, a true American success story of perseverance.